Okay, we are live. Let's see here. Yeah, we're live. I just don't see us, but I think we are live here. Let me just check my Facebook. Okay, yeah, we're live. So yeah, well, welcome in. Give people a few minutes to just to come in. The day is finally here. Small Business Saturday podcast relaunch. This is the collaboration. We got a lot of different attorneys here, and we're going to be talking about a lot of big topics, really big topics in the news. And so I'm really looking forward to having this discussion. So let me just do this right here just to make sure we're good. Okay, so yeah, we're going to go ahead and we're going to get to talking. This is going to all be recorded. So if anybody wants to watch the replay or watch the full thing, they can. We're going to post this, and we're probably going to do it on our own individual channels. I definitely going to post it on mine. So we're going to get it started. So for those who don't know me, I am attorney Justin Camper. I phrase myself as a small business attorney. I do practice in other areas of law, but I love small business law. And I started a podcast last year in 2020 called Small Business Saturday Podcast. And I got on there and I was teaching different legal principles for small business owners. Then I got super swamped and I basically stopped producing episodes. And I had a conversation with my legal brothers-in-law, about my podcast and about the things that I was trying to do and my vision. And they decided to join me and to be a part of it and support. And I really appreciate them for wanting to be a part and support. And so today we are going to be talking about a range of topics. Let me go ahead and give a list of topics here. We're going to be talking about OnlyFans, the porn ban. What are the legal rights around that? How does that affect business owners? We're going to be talking about Texas abortion law, and what was that affect, and how does that affect the rest of the country? We're going to be talking about the arrest of the district attorney who was over the Ahmaud Arbery case. We're going to be talking about that arrest. What are the legalities around that? We're also going to be talking about a church who basically won, or they received in the settlement $400,000 because the government went after them for violating COVID-19 procedures. So we're going to be breaking that down, helping to understand that. And we're going to be talking about a tobacco company who was in a recent settlement, and they won. Someone received $43 million because they sued a tobacco company for causing their spouse to have lung cancer. So we're going to be diving into this. I see Hans Peter say he's looking forward to discussions. Thanks, Hans Peter. Thanks for tuning in. Okay, so before I get started, I want to just briefly introduce my cast. I gave a brief introduction of myself. I'm an Indiana-based attorney. We got another Indiana-based attorney here too, but I want to you guys just to briefly introduce yourself, who you are, what kind of law do you practice, and yeah, that's it. Go ahead. So we'll start with you, Jacoby.
Right. Hello, everybody. I'm attorney Jacoby Whitley. I'm licensed in the District of Columbia. I handle an array of legal issues in my boutique firm. They range from estate planning matters, real estate, and also small business issues. And we take a personalized approach with each client, and I look forward to sharing whatever knowledge I can with you guys on this podcast.
Awesome. Okay, thanks, Coach, for being on. What about you, Attorney Bonza? Go ahead and give us a brief introduction.
Good morning. This is Attorney Bonza, Mayombo Mbanza from Mbanza Law. We are a small law practice in the state of Illinois. We focus on matters that deal with, I will put it this way, our practice areas are immigration, torts, business transaction, data privacy, and family law. We do have a unique approach on how we attend our clients' matters. So we look forward to, kind of putting emphasis on it too through our discussion today. And I want to welcome you all for joining us.
Thank you, Attorney Bonza. And for those who are watching, just put your name in the chat, where you're watching from. We want to acknowledge you. But go ahead, Shannon. Go ahead and let us introduce yourself.
Thank you, Justin. Bear with me. I was in the field yesterday. Sinuses are getting the best of me. But Attorney Shannon Buhari, I'm licensed here in the great state of Indiana. I'm an attorney, the only one that it appears that is not running my own practice. So kudos to you, gentlemen. I'm an attorney at Anderson, Augustine, and Keller law firm. Basically, I tell people I practice what I call a legal buffet. Everything except employment law and criminal defense I've touched. So that's it. Married, father of 4. So if you see a kid or 2, run in. My apologies.
Oh, no problem. Yeah. Thanks for coming in. And we look forward to your legal analysis. Attorney Estrada is watching. So good morning to you as well, Attorney Estrada. So we're going to go ahead and dive into these topics. We got a lot of spicy. When I was promoting this, someone said, it's going to be spicy. So we got a lot of spicy topics today. Let's go ahead and tackle this OnlyFans porn ban. I want to give just a brief synopsis of what happened, and then we can all throw in our opinions on it. Okay, we got Miss Mason watching. From Chicago. Thanks, Miss Mason. We appreciate you tuning in. We got Sam Boyens watching. Samuel Boyens said he wants all the spice. Okay, you're going to get the spice today, sir. All right, appreciate it. We got Attorney Crystal Johnson in. Thanks for watching.
Whole time.
Okay, all right. So let's talk about OnlyFans. So OnlyFans is a company where you can post content and have people subscribe to your content. And so basically, what happened with OnlyFans is that during the pandemic, when all the different places and things shut down, a lot of the what they call the legal term sex workers began to go on OnlyFans and post their content. And what happened was people began to make $10,000, $20,000, even higher than that a month on OnlyFans because they began to post their content, their sexual content on OnlyFans, and they began to get subscribers. So OnlyFans blew up over 2020, became $1 billion company. So now OnlyFans is one of the top subscription-based companies, and they had an issue. So they ended up coming out with a few weeks ago saying that they were going to ban all sexual content due to pressures from from their bankers. What ended up happening was a few days later, there was a huge uproar. People were talking about what about the legal rights of the sex workers? A lot of people began to say we're going to go to other platforms, and OnlyFans began to shift their decision. They reversed their decision, saying that we're not going to ban sexual content from their website. And so this brought up an array of legal issues. Why is so porn is legal, but prostitution is not legal? But does OnlyFans have rights? Are they employees? Are they contractors? What, as a business owner, how do you make these decisions? How do you make a decision to ban certain content? Are you violating someone's constitutional rights? So we're going to go ahead and get into that. So first question to the panel. If OnlyFans would have continued its porn ban, what would there have been? What would have been the legal rights of those sexual workers if there would have been any?
So I'll break the silence, right? I don't know if I have the right answer. But you were saying the question was, what would be if I'm an entertainer on the OnlyFans platform, right, and this ban was to go forward? What would be some of my legal claims, essentially?
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, I would have to make a obvious claim on base. This decision maybe is discriminatory, okay, because you targeted a certain group that participate in this platform, and you haven't really given the legal basis of why. But then there's the whole thing that this is a private company. And although I'm not familiar with the OnlyFans contract, I do know that people, I believe, do form LLCs and enter the contract with OnlyFans as an LLC. So that would kind of allude that it's not an employee contract, and more so an independent contractor. So they would have less recourse if there was to make a platform change. You can either re-sign with the new agreement or not. But I just wanted to get a feel for the question again, just to reshape it for the panel.
Yeah, so you brought out some different issues there. You're saying that basically you have to look at, number one, the contract between OnlyFans and the content creators, right? And as business attorney, it's literally the first thing we do. The first question we always ask: what does the contract say? Because contracts are literally the foundation to business law. But another thing you brought up is, okay, how do we classify these OnlyFans creators? What are they? Are they employees? Are they independent contractors? Are they just consumers? And I think that's the big question, because that lays the foundation on what law should be applied. We have to figure out which classification they are in. Shannon, you seem like you're brewing over there. What are your thoughts?
No, I think I agree with what you just said. The way I look at this is the same, kind of a similar situation to your Ubers and your Lyfts, where you may provide a service to call it Uber or Lyft. Here you have people maybe providing a service to OnlyFans. However, again, I don't know what the, like Cope said, contracts say, whatever, but I would imagine that they're not employees of OnlyFans, right? I would imagine that they are independent contractors. I'm sure OnlyFans doesn't provide health insurance, right? I'm sure they don't provide, they're not paying FICA tax for these individuals. I'm sure if an individual gets hurt on a job, there's no workers' compensation being paid out by OnlyFans. I'm sure if an individual gets, again, hurt in their line of work, I doubt they sue OnlyFans as some sort of umbrella. You had a duty to make sure I stayed safe at work, right? And you failed to do so. So I would think that they are independent contractors. But I think, and I don't know if it's come up yet, but I think there is a potential First Amendment claim that these individuals can make too, a free speech type claim that can be made. And I think that's why the porn industry is allowed to thrive in and of itself, is because, I think it's considered art. However, I think it does become tricky when you start to put money, right? But am I paying for viewing pleasure, or am I paying for the actual act itself? Because I think paying for sex is illegal, right? But I don't know if me paying to watch somebody else engage in the act is. So that's just my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So a lot of people made the argument that, sex workers have rights. So, a few years ago, back in 2005, the Supreme Court basically ruled that porn is a First Amendment right? It's artistic free expression. So exactly what Shannon said. And so the question becomes, does if OnlyFans makes this ban, are they intruding on the First Amendment rights of these content creators? My own boy, I'm gonna go to you, Attorney Bonza. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, this is what I'm looking at. How I'm looking at it. It's a private platform, right? And it brings in a lot of obligations, from the users. And like Attorney Buhari said, it's pretty much like you're a user, a Uber user, right? The owner of the platform has strict regulations or maybe relaxed regulations depending on what they like and what they do not like. Nowadays, it's all about whether it's appealing to their mission statement, right? So, and then the other component is whether the users are paying some money. But even if you're paying some money, it's still limited to what you signed. There's some fine prints that you sign when you sign up. Many of us do not read those fine prints, and those either give all the rights to the owner of the platform, and the user is basically someone that can be dismissed for any reasons. But then to some point, it becomes also a matter of whether the person being dismissed or whose account is being deactivated is the basis for that particular deactivation is not right. Okay. What right got to be reasonable at some point. If they're infringing upon their constitutional right, then there's an issue. But then if this is typically and basically business, I don't see any reason why that will be an issue. I mean, it's a private platform. If you don't want it, and go elsewhere. There's plenty of those. And I'm not saying that folks shouldn't be allowed to do whatever they want to do on that platform, but it all boils down to the fact that the owner of the platform has more say so than anything. So long as he's not breaking somebody's right.
Okay.
If I could piggyback off of my Umbo real quick.
Sure.
There's only two types of pornography that receive no First Amendment protections, and that's obscenity and child pornography. Right? So when it comes into the First Amendment, like my Umbo was saying, right, because as a private business, that private business has steps out of the reach of a lot of the First Amendment rights because it is a private business, not a state actor. So as long as those acts aren't obscene, it's hard to really kind of stop somebody or reprimand somebody from performing acts that aren't obscene. In case law, I believe it was Jenkins v. Georgia, with Justice Rehnquist decided in like 1974, that nudity alone is not enough to make materially legal obscene, something legally obscene under the Miller standards.
Right. Absolutely.
And then one more thing I can add on what Attorney Whitley just said is that there's only a few things, a few occasions where something that is done by a private institution begin to affect people's right when it affects the interstate commerce, right? So this is business, right? If what they're doing, what they're banning, if it's affecting one person on the other, and then there are some consequences that on the interstate commerce, and then we say, okay, this is when, the court may come in and say something else, but it's still a narrow window where, the owner still has more say so.
Right. And one more thing, though, but this does highlight, though, and I think that I don't know necessarily that all performers on OnlyFans are considered sex workers.
Not all of them. Definitely not all of them, but a lot of them are, yeah.
But I do like that this conversation is shedding light onto employment rights for sex workers.
Right.
Because we do know that industry exists, and there should be some protections in that industry. So I am glad that this is starting that dialogue in that conversation.
Right. So for those joining in, we're talking about OnlyFans ban. We're talking about sex workers' rights. I wanted to highlight a point that my uncle said. And also, if you have questions about this legal issue, write it in the comments below. If you want to ask questions about OnlyFans, about sex workers' rights, about the constitutional right between pornography and prostitution, definitely put that in the comments. Now, I wanted to highlight something that my uncle said and that Attorney Whitley basically confirmed. So if this would be a different conversation if this was a government, if the government was saying we're banning, I don't know, let's say it was a local government saying that we're banning, pornography from, being used in this county or whatever, then yes, you can have a constitutional right and standing to fight against that government. But when it's a private organization, you don't have that standing. And there are exceptions to that. But in general, you don't use a constitutional standard against a private organization. Now, state laws do have different rules for private organizations, but in general, when you're talking about federal law, a private organization has lots of rights. Like there are exceptions to the rule, like if the private organization is funded by the government, things like that. But in general, private organizations do have that right to be able to do whatever they want to do with their business, and you have to apply to it. I wanted to send this to Shannon. How do you think this, hearing this news, understanding this concept? Because when I was in law school and I understood, wait a minute, private organizations can technically discriminate against your constitutional right, it kind of shocked me. But as for small business owners, how do they take in that, and how do they apply this to their business?
So for me, I think the reason you constantly separate private versus public is to prevent government overreach, right? I think the reason you go into private business is because, one, we live in a capitalistic society, right? So I think at its purest form, capitalism is somewhat, let me kind of do it on my own until I step out of bounds, then you kind of reel me in. However, until I get out of bounds, I don't need you to reel me in, right? So a referee won't blow his whistle in a basketball game until there's either a foul committed or somebody steps out of bounds. So I think when I'm advising my clients on what they can and cannot do from a private standpoint, I think the sole reason they go into business is so they can kind of, I'd say, Geppetto and Pinocchio it, right? The business runs the way they want it to run. They're allowed to do what they see fit, as long as it's not a clear violation, right? Because we do know, even in the private sector, there still are some protections, right? So you can't fire somebody because they're Black or Muslim or homosexual, but I can fire you because my favorite color is blue and you wear black every day, right? And in to take it a little bit further, Indiana's an at-will state, so I can truly fire you for anything as long as it's not one of the protected classes, right? So again, you're a man, not really, female maybe, right? But I can't say, Justin, hey, we are an atheist facility. We know you pray to God, so therefore we got to let you go. Right now, I can choose not to hire you potentially, but I don't know if I can fire you for that. So I think the reason people go into business is simply to keep, to have some control. Again, it's limited in a sense, but to have some control over the outcome of their business. And again, I think that's in its purest form. I understand capitalism people have different takes on it, but I think in its purest form, that's the purpose of the capitalistic society.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And just wrapping up this topic, what do you guys see happening in the future? Do you see that prostitution is going to be a legalized industry that's going to be regulated? And how do you see this affecting America in the future based off of this situation that happened with OnlyFans? Jacoby, I'm going to send it to you.
Sure. Quite possibly. It's totally possible that prostitution will be legalized and sex work in general will be accepted as general labor. Participants in the industry will have all the same rights as, I think someone in your comments said, construction workers and so on and so forth. So I really think that is a foreseeable possibility in America's future for sure.
Okay. Yeah. So just especially for all business owners who may be listening, it's a few things to take away from this. First of all, whenever there's a dispute, always look to your contract. What does the contract say? Understand how someone is classified. Are they an independent contractor? Are they employee? You got to make sure that's clear. If you're talking about constitutional rights, you got to think about, are they a private organization or is this the government? If you are a private organization, you have a lot more freedom than the government does. We got some more comments here. Let me make sure I acknowledgement. So let me put it on the board. So Sam said, yes, prostitution will be legal. The government wants to keep us blind and distract us from the harsh reality. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I definitely think that it's definitely still happening. I mean, people are still getting charged with it. So I mean, it is a reality that it is going on. But the debate is, should it be legal? And that's the question.
If I could chime in, I'm sorry, Justin, real quick. I say the same thing. So people that know me know tax is my background, right?
Right.
I think the reason it's illegal now is because the government can't figure out how to tax it. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So how do I tell somebody who just got $100 from a John, you owe me 6%? I mean, so I think that's
right.
Vegas, you can go to a brothel. It's easy, right? You spend $300. I don't know what the Vegas tax is, but we'll put a percentage on it, and you got $300 worth of service. You went ahead and got your 7% or whatever the tax is in Vegas. I say the same thing. So I think the reason it is not because we were everybody on this podcast and everybody in the comments is a product of somebody having sex with somebody, right? It's just when you start to put a price tag on it and say, hey, I'll do it for $50. If the government could figure out a way to tax it, it'd be legal tomorrow, right? The reason it's not legal is because they can't figure out, how do I sit here and Slim Jim the pimp or whatever the case may be, when he's making 10 grand a week, how do we get the 6%, the 20%, right? How does he claim that? What is that classified as when it's income tax? What is the worker putting it on as so again, once the government figures out how to tax it, it'll definitely be legal, but
But should Slim Jim, if he gets 10 grand a week, should he report that on his income tax, Shannon?
He should, and I think the problem is he's not. So that's the issue there. That's income. So he's he's working. That's income, whether it be passive or. But it's one. I guarantee it's not being disclosed to the government. And two, again, once the government figures out how to tax it, I think that's when it most certainly becomes legal.
Right. Go ahead, Attorney Bonzo.
I know this quote from Thomas Jefferson that goes that laws and institutions shall go hand in hand with the progress of the human mind. When you look at where this country has been many years ago, or a century ago, it's not where we stand today. A lot of things have come to be passed into law, depending on, like Shannon said, the need, the business need. Okay, who wants to push this forward to get more buck out of it? And how does that change the society that we live in? Right, the likelihood of this becoming normalized, if not legalized, is there, but then it's like what we get with marijuana, right? We have a bunch of stores today, but then back in the days it used to not be that way. They find it's real need of a medical need for it, and then let's push this forward, and then make sure that folks support this, and then we're gonna pass this into law. So at some point, I don't know if that's gonna come from where, but where there will be I don't know what kind of need that will be. I mean, there's a business need. We'll get practical business need for that.
Right.
So
it's a lot to it. I see a growing trend based off our research, a growing trend of people that are pushing for prostitution to be legal. Carl said, let's make it legal. He said they legalize weed, anything is possible. So, I mean, I think that it's definitely going to be up for discussion. For people who are against prostitution and pornography, they're going to have to really figure out how to come up with good arguments, because the Constitution already said that it's a a constitute. I mean, sorry, the Supreme Court said it's a constitutional right to be engaged into pornography and to watch it. So as long as it doesn't involve children or it's not obscene. So I see that James Camper, my father, is promoting it and tagging people. Thank you. I appreciate it. So we're going to move on to the next topic. If you do want to add more comments about the sex worker topic and OnlyFans, just put it in the comments and we'll go back and we'll address it. But right now I want to talk about Texas abortion law. We are in 2021. We're still arguing about abortion. Let's go on and let me just give a brief synopsis of what's happening, and we're going to break it down and we can give our legal analysis on it. So Texas just signed a new abortion law on September 1st of 2021 called the Texas Heartbeat Law. The bill bans abortions after when a ultrasound can detect that there is a heartbeat. So whenever there's a heart, they can detect that there's a heartbeat going on inside the mother, and they say that you cannot have an abortion, and they say that you can detect a heartbeat as early as 6 weeks into pregnancy. This does not include women who have been impregnated due to rape or incest, so it's still illegal for them. The only exception after the 6 weeks ban is medical emergencies. So the different thing about this bill is that the government will not enforce this bill. In fact, the government has turned the reins over to private citizens and says that any private citizens who know someone who helps somebody get an abortion can sue them for up to $10,000 in court. And so you can't sue, the government's not going to enforce it, but it's civilly you can sue someone for helping someone get an abortion. So it basically opened door for any private citizen to sue someone. So that includes many people that can be sued is the doctor, which I saw that the patient itself can't be sued, which I thought was interesting. But the doctor can be sued. The Uber driver that takes someone to an abortion can be sued. So it's going to open up a whirlwind for legal ramifications. So I want to throw it out there. What do you think is? Oh, so I want to go also talk about the DOJ. So the Department of Justice, the federal government, they also filed a temporary restraining order on this lawsuit, basically saying on this law, they said that they should ban this law until the Supreme Court can hear it. And the Supreme Court basically said no. Let them make their arguments in the courts. We're not going to ban this law right now. And so let's talk about it. President Biden said it blatantly violates constitutional rights to abortion. Does this law ban constitutional rights to abortion? Who wants to take it?
Listen, I stand with our mothers, our sisters, our nieces. I stand with them. They have the right to decide what to say, what to do with their own body, and deal with the consequences. I won't let anybody sit around the corner there and come and say, hey, this is what you can do, what you cannot do with your body. On the very crazy thing about it is, on the one hand, you preach giving rights, okay? On the other end, you're trying to turn around for some reasons, maybe some political agenda, and you're trying to infringe somebody else's right. It doesn't work that way, Let things be legal and people do it the right way, and let's get sophisticated about it, okay? If then you claim there are consequences that are endangering your state or whatever, then figure out how to deal with them lately. I want to share something very personal to me. I'm from Africa. I was born in the Congo. In the country that I'm from, abortion is not legal. And because of that, people sneak around and trying to do it in private. Okay, they hire bad doctor here, bad nurse there, and then there's a lot of issues trying to do it that way because you can't go to an open hospital and do it the right way. And then people have died. They've been dying. They will continue to die until the country thinks about making it legal so the right doctors can do it. or even if the right doctor's doing it, but they're doing it in hiding and they don't have the right tools to do it. And then that personally, I think it's not right for women. They should have the right to say what they need to say for their body. I understand it's killing someone, right? But don't even take me there. You worry about this baby being taken out because the mom doesn't want to carry the baby. What about the one? You just leave it there.
Okay, so all right, thanks for your analysis. So let's bring it back, and for those who's tuning in, we're talking about, does that Texas abortion law impede on the constitutional rights of someone to have an abortion? So Jacoby, I'll go to you. What are your thoughts?
I agree with my umbo's sentiment. I think that this Texas bill represents the biggest curb in the constitutional right to abortion, and I don't want to say ever, but at least in recent time. And also, what this is going to do is it's going to create a blueprint. That's how the law works. Okay, you get a successful lawsuit, that becomes the blueprint for everyone else to either base their law or word their law in that fashion, or base their claim on that fashion, things like that. So I think what this is going to do is give that blueprint to other states. And we already see that happening in the news. But I think it's very key what you said is the change in the strategy, the legal strategy. And I'm going to highlight it because I want everyone to make sure that they see it. Keep your eye on the ball. All right, so traditionally, like Justin said, enforcement of an abortion law was done by the government, right? It would be a criminal fine against the doctor or something like that. Now, the change in the legal strategy is now that they're allowing it to be done in a civil manner. And like we were alluding to earlier, it takes the ball out of the government's hands and puts it in a private actor's hands. So it's a lot easier for that private actor to move than the government, right? So that's what they're doing. So now, with the Supreme Court ruling, other states are going to model this blueprint now. And I think that's a very key thing to highlight, and why this is such a dangerous attack on women's rights.
Okay, so you're saying that this law does violate someone's constitutional right to an abortion?
No, see, here's the thing. I'm not making that ruling. I'm not the Supreme Court, right? What I am highlighting is the strategy that is being used, right, to attack the rights or to attack this issue, and that they've taken it out of government enforcement. That's the strategy. Take it out of government enforcement, place it in civil enforcement to make it a harder argument that this law invades upon a person's constitutional rights.
Okay. All right, Shannon, help us out here. Shed some light. What's your thoughts?
So, as a father of two daughters, right, I find it, and I'm not getting into any politics or any political spectrum.
Right.
I find it ironic that the same folk who were screaming "my body, my choice" when it came to wearing a mask are now saying that women don't have a choice when it comes to having a baby, right? As a dad, again, I find it a bit hard. As a man, I find it hard to figure out how we can, as a society, and I might be going off Constitution a little bit, maybe a public policy argument, how we can decide what's best for a pregnant woman, right? Nobody on this podcast has ever been, nor will they ever be pregnant. So why is it that we can figure out what's best for a woman? And two, you don't eradicate the issue. I now just go to a different state that hasn't gotten to where you are yet to get it done, right? So I can't get it done in Texas. Nothing in the law says I can't be a Texas citizen and go to a neighboring state that does and still get an abortion done. So you're not completely eradicating the issue anyway. You're just, it's the red herring, right? Look, Texas did it first. We did it first, right? We're the first state to ban abortions. Well, all you did was cause an uptick in neighboring states. So now call it Oklahoma. So I agree with Kobe's analysis that that's the blueprint, right? Because what will happen next? Now other states are saying we're seeing a rise in potentially. We're seeing an uptick. We're seeing a rise. Why? Well, 40% of the individuals that we performed this surgery on were from out of state individuals, right? Why were they from out of state? Because they can't get it done in state. And again, I think I agree with Mayambo that when people are gonna, it's human nature to go against the grain to a certain extent, right? Why do people still buy drugs knowing they're illegal? I personally believe there's a thrill that comes with that. Meeting somebody in an alley in exchange, knowing I can get caught. It's the same way. You make abortions illegal. People are still trying to find a way to get it done, right? And I think at that point, you're causing more harm to the woman. So when I'm in a garage with a hanger and now more harm, you know what I mean? So I think that's the way to, again, I find it hard that it's up to men to decide what's done with women's body. I mean, I just find that, I think that, again, without getting into politics or any of that, I think it speaks to the patriarchal society that the United States of America is. Right? Okay. I think that's what it speaks to. Do I think it's unconstitutional? Yes. But I think it's deeper than that. I think it boils down to this is a society where a man works, the woman stays in the house, the woman isn't supposed to drive. Therefore, the woman has, call it less rights, and men decide what rights women have. Okay.
Interesting. I'm going to share my thoughts in a minute. I want to get to some of the comments here. So, Ms. Mason said that this government and these private companies are wicked to legalize this as I see a door open to harm our children. You are giving these pimps and other people who don't care about life the free will to prostitute our children and women for money. Also, I feel that it will get to a point where the government will feel that they have to tax us for having sex with our spouses. Wow, that's huge right there. I think just referring to our last discussion about sex workers' rights and prostitution. Thanks for sharing that. I mean, that's the slippery soap argument. Anybody can make that slippery soap argument of, oh well, if they do this, then this can happen, this can happen, this can happen. So I appreciate your perspective. Hans Peter Nkanza said, but the fact that a man announced the law in Texas does not mean women were not on the board deciding. Anyhow, the panel has not still decided the constitutionality of the abortion rights. And I'm going to have to agree with Mr. Nkanza on here because simply because the governor is a man or because the governor is the one that signed the bill, that doesn't mean that men are deciding for women. If you look at the people who were at the signing of the bill, it was a lot of women there at the signing of the bill. If you look at who runs a lot of the Right to Life organization, and a lot of times it is women who are leading that movement. Now, I would say this, though. I think that there definitely, so the reason why abortion is a constitutional right is for the public to inform them, is because in Roe v. Wade, the government decided that a woman have a right to choose abortion if they want, because it is under the 14th Amendment and under the privacy right? So they have a right to privacy. This is where basically the Supreme Court created a law within the law. So they said they have a right to privacy, but however, the court says that states have to balance the regulation of abortion with also protecting the rights of different citizens. So let me actually say what the court said. It's a balancing test, right? So just because you have an abortion, you have a constitutional right to abortion, doesn't mean that you can do it whenever, however you feel like it. The state has a right to regulate how you do that abortion. So what the court resolved in a balancing test that during the first trimester, governments cannot prohibit abortions at all. During the second trimester, they can require reasonable health regulations. And then during the third trimester, abortions could be prohibited entirely so long as the law contains exceptions for women when it's necessary to save the life of a woman. So, and I think that it's important to highlight that, right? Because yes, the government has a right to. Yes, you have a constitutional right to abortion, but the government technically has a right to regulate how that abortion can be done. So I think that my legal analysis is I think the Texas law should be reworked a little bit because it's coming off as they are banning abortions after 6 weeks. But I will rework that law to make sure that it's talking about the procedural aspect of it, and that they are not necessarily just outright banning abortions, even though in effect that's what they're doing. And not to go into a political side of things, but there are a lot of effects that was not mentioned that happens to abortions. You're not thinking about how this affects our low-income communities. You're not thinking about the life and the effects of women who do take this. And we're not even talking about do government has the right to stop citizens from harming themselves and others. So those are also arguments in that. And so if we're going to talk about it, we got to definitely address those issues. So my question is, because we are a Small Business Saturday podcast, how does this new law affect small business owners?
I guess the response to that is along the line of answering to the question, which demographic is this law going to affect the most if it were to pass? Right? So many of laws in the past have tend to affect poor people the most, right? And then people of color the most. Why? Because what the institutions make available to others is not necessarily what everybody else has access to, right? I want to bring it down to your question when you ask in terms of business law. I do family law. I've come across fathers who don't want to be in a child's life, right? And you're looking at it from a perspective where a mom is now condemned to stay with that child, make ends meet, and everything else alone, where she could have been given the choice if she wanted to. She said, okay, I aspire to be a doctor. I am one of the 5 children in my family. My mom doesn't have a job. My dad doesn't have a job. My dad is gone. So me having another child is going to be a burden on me. We have to think about taking care of them.
So, Mayabo, how does this affect business owners? Can you answer that question for me?
How does this affect business owners? It's pretty simple. I will respond to that question in terms of public policy.
Okay.
Right. Stephanie works for me. Stephanie happened to be pregnant, and Stephanie is now stressed because she's dealing with the family matters. She can't come and perform her job right, and it could be Stephanie's cousin or whatever, auntie. And to that point, from public policy standpoint, it's not morally right. You want people to come to work with the right mindset, especially during this pandemic time. You don't want to be bothered or disturbed, morally unstable or mentally unstable coming into work. It affects your performance one way or the other. That's how I will say it. Just for now, as far as in terms of public policy, that's how I will see it.
Okay. Yeah, I appreciate that. That was a great perspective on that. I guess I'll give it to you, Cole. How would you advise business owners who understand this law is coming, right? And right now, the abortion law, the ban on abortion right now is winning. So it's a likelihood that this is going to be, like you said, a blueprint for other countries to abide by. How are you going to advise business owners who may face what my uncle just said, having people who want to get abortions and things like that, knowing that these type of laws are coming?
Well, so to circle back with everyone, with like Shannon said, this is going to cause people to flee to other states and even other countries to have this operation performed. That's why I do believe that this statute is overburdensome, and that's more grounds for it to be unconstitutional. But if you are a business that is subjected to this, then you can see employees, it's going to be an uptick clearly in medical leave, right? FMLA and different things like that. So it's going to affect the bottom line, like my uncle was touching on, with production, your employees' productivity, and the overall bottom line of the company. So I don't think this type of an abortion law would be in benefits best interest, in businesses, small businesses' best interest, because of the burden that is going to place on their employees. So if I was a small business, I would fight this law essentially, because I just think it's going to make a lot of complications in the workplace.
Okay. And I understand that perspective, but I mean, right now, this law is coming. It's rolling down, right? Texas, I mean, it's here, right? You know what I'm saying? Let me go to you, Shannon, and I want to read this comment first. It says, as for abortion, I'm pro-life, but I strongly believe women should have the right to choose what they want to do with their bodies when it comes to their health, saving their life. If not having a baby would kill that mother, and if they have been raped or incest, but not to be used as a form of birth control because they don't want to have a baby. My other issue is that women can't choose to have an abortion, but trans people can make a choice to have his or her gender removed to have sex change. And that's from a woman. So that's for a woman. So let's go to you, Shannon. Just real quick, business owners, what is your advice to them when it comes to this legal issue?
I mean, I think I'd echo what Kobe said. All right, I think you sit down and say, look, again, we're in Indiana. It may be coming, it may not be. However, as a small business owner, you start to think about these things and how it can affect productivity, how it is going to affect your bottom line, right? Are you going to have to increase your healthcare premiums? Are employees going to have to pay more? Do you have to put up more money for FMLA reasons, right? Do you have to put up more money to cover somebody's absence if they are? Do you have to hire more, right? Do you want, not necessarily overstaff, but do you ensure that in the event somebody has to leave because they are, call it, compelled to have a kid, do you, can your company sustain this person being gone for whatever the leave is? So, I think you just start to be proactive about it. And look, this is what's going on in Texas. Indiana's a red state. Is it as conservative as Texas? Probably not. But I think that's the advice you give. Look, as a small business owner, can you survive? Right? Can you? Healthcare is costly, but hey, this is what could potentially be coming down the pike. This is what could potentially affect your business. This is just stuff that you think about, right? So I think that's the advice you give to a small business owner.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to echo that, and we can move on to the next subject. Like, I think what they're really hitting on is that, okay, so if I have employees, right, this is going to increase the cost of my healthcare, right? And so then you got to think about, okay, am I going to be having employees or am I going to be having independent contractors? Obviously, every business can't have independent contractors, but some can. So these are a lot of different legal strategies that you're going to have to talk about with your business attorney when it comes to things like this, when it comes to healthcare and these type of issues. And also, one more issue is that, for businesses, that if you are aiding someone to get an abortion, if this law passed, you could get sued. Right. So it's better to be prepared for these type of things and making sure that you're not aiding abortion. If you're right now, it's just Texas, but if this law passes down to other places, that's one thing that you think about. We got another comment here. We're gonna go to another subject. But no one is compelling anyone to have a kid. If you don't want to have a kid, then protect yourself, but don't have no sex at all. Okay, that's from Mr. Nkanza. Samuel Boyd said, are we doing a talk about Gabby? Should her boyfriend be charged for abandoning her in the middle of nowhere? I'm not familiar with that issue, but definitely send that to me, Mr. Boynes, and maybe we'll talk about that next episode. Okay, hold on 1 second. Let me read this comment. Miss Mason says, the podcast is very interesting. Thank you, Justin, for the invite. I wish I could stay listen more and hear your panel. Have a blessed day. Thank you, Ms. Mason, for participating. We appreciate you. Appreciate your comments. Alexander Camper said, good point. All right. So,
Justin, let me add one thing here for the business.
Okay. Final thought.
Just 30 seconds.
Okay.
The way it will affect the business is this is the government imposing its will upon the people. Now, major businesses have to choose where to stand. Now they don't know whether they should side with the government or side with the people. So now, if a business were to stand with the government, then it makes that business look a certain way. We are living in an era where a lot of movements have a lot of control of what they can do to your business in the wink of an eye, right? Talking about Me Too movement, right? But then if that would happen, that say X, Y, and Z company sides with this, you know how many employees going to walk out? So that's how it's affecting CEOs in deciding whether we should stand with this, whether we should be silent about this, or how we're going to support this if we are going to do it, and how it's going to affect our employees who are also family members, who are also mothers and everything.
Okay. All right. Yeah, thanks for those thoughts, my elbow. Let's move on. We have the district attorney who was involved with Ahmaud Arbery's case. So if you're not familiar, Ahmaud Arbery is the guy who was a young man who was, they say he was jogging and he was harassed by 3 different individuals, and they ended up getting into a ruffle, and they ended up shooting him. They claim that they were making a citizen arrest because they believe that he was robbing people, or not robbing, but that he was stealing things out of people's houses. So anyway, those individuals end up getting arrested, and now the district attorney is now arrested because they said that she covered up evidence. Really, it was mainly because the guy who was a part of it, he was an investigator for the DA. And basically, he came to her for advice. She eventually recused herself, but she basically told them that they shouldn't file charges. And so what they did was they charged her with 2 different criminal rights, similar charges here. They charged her with violating an oath as a public officer, a felony that carries 1 to 5 sentences, and they charged her with obstruction of a police officer. And they did violating an oath of a public officer because they said that she swore to not favor or use or show affection to anyone as her duties as district attorney. And they believe that they show favor to this guy. That's why he wasn't charged immediately for the crime that they believe he committed, an obstruction of a police officer, because they believe that she basically told them that, hey, don't arrest this guy. So my comment to you, let's go to Jacoby. I know you're a criminal defense attorney. What are your thoughts on this? Do you think that they're going to prevail in this criminal case with her?
That's a very good question, right? Now, based on what we see, right, we look at the charges here. Then saying that she directed Travis McMichael should not be placed under arrest. I mean, that's pretty clear cut. I don't know what the government's evidence is, but that seems pretty straightforward. And also showing favor and affection to Greg McMichael. I think that was the father, and I think he was like an investigator in that department and things like that.
Right.
And that goes to violating the oath. So if I want to be completely honest with you guys, if there is a win in the lower court level, I think it might be overturned on appeal. That's normally the standard of things. If I think recently there was an officer that shot a young woman, I think in Colorado, and was convicted on the lower court, and just recently was released on appeal. And that seemed like a pretty clear-cut case. But that thing, the appeal, I guess we've had some recent high-profile appeals. I think Bill Cosby recently was released on appeal. So I think in a similar fashion, we might see a conviction on the lower court, but I think it will be overturned on appeal, based just on the standard movement of the courts, as I see it.
Yeah, Shannon, any thoughts on this?
So I'm code criminal defense, baby. That's your space.
Right.
But at the same time, if nothing from I think if they don't throw the book at her criminally, as lawyers, MPRE ethics, I think they'll come and you'll see some sort of slap on the wrist regarding her actual practice and like her license, right? So whether it be forced to resign, whether it be suspension, whether it be some sort of disbarment, I again, because I'm not in the criminal space, I don't know criminally what we're looking at, but I can almost imagine, and I'd almost be certain that her bar license is probably, if what they're alleging is true, right? If these allegations are true, if this is what she did, she violated her oath as district attorney, conspired. I'm using that term lightly, but to help these gentlemen get off, then I think at some point her legal license will be in trouble.
Yeah,
I think just as a good question, why she wasn't charged as an aider and abettor in a murder.
Yeah.
Or an accessory after the fact.
Right.
I think all of that was on the table here.
Right. They definitely could have thrown the book at her. I see Attorney Bonds is back in. Glad to have you back, Attorney Bonds. No problem. Oh, you're in this little spotty here, but I want to move on. I just want to say, wrapping up, I think as business owners, how to apply this, because we want to make sure entrepreneurs are taking away something from every single legal issue here, is that you got to have accountability and leadership, right? So the district attorney was the top dog. That's the top prosecutor, right? But even the top prosecutor has to follow the law. And so there are a lot of times in businesses that the CEOs, they violate the law, or they allow someone to violate the law, right? And that's the key thing to keep thinking in mind, is that as a business owner, you gotta make sure you have really good policies and protocols in your business, especially if you're dealing with a lot of employees, or not even a lot, but just a few employees, because you could get charged for simply allowing something to happen. As a business owner, it was in your responsibility as a business owner.
Superior.
There you go. Right. So we got the Latin here. He's breaking it down to you. So I think that it's really, really important, because as a CEO, you have to really make sure you have really good policies and protocols. I've seen a church, different church leaders get arrested and charged because they allowed sexual assault to happen. They kind of heard about it, and they heard the complaints, but they didn't do anything about it, and they got charged for it. So as a business owner, you have to really make sure you have good policies and protocols, and that's why you need a business attorney to help you go through all these things, and even talking along with the criminal attorney to make sure you have different protocols and for people who want to make claims against certain things that are happening in your company and that you are addressing it appropriately. That's all I want to say.
If I could just throw in there, because people might not think that a criminal attorney and a business attorney don't exist in the same space, right? But I would say that you're a person that hasn't met a cannabis company. so there you go.
Right. Sam Boy said, "This is great. Keep doing more content like this. Thank you. Appreciate your support." We're going to talk about this real quickly because we're over an hour, but $43 million settlement was against Phillip Morris. I don't know if you guys know Phillip Morris. That is a tobacco company, and they it was a jury. I'm sorry, I thought it was a settlement. It's actually a jury. So they won. This is they went to trial. They won. A jury handed down a $43 million verdict after finding the company responsible for the cancer death of a woman who has smoked the company's Virginia Slim cigarettes. So let's talk about it. So let's talk about it, because who would have thought in today's time, 2021, with all of the commercials about not smoking and the constant blast of information about how smoking is not good for you, that you can win against a tobacco company for I guess selling you cigarettes. So with the argument that was made, and I'm gonna give it to whoever wants to talk about it, but the argument that was made was that they understand that these cigarettes are so addictive that even though people may stop, they're going to come back to it, and they're going to continue to smoke even during when they have lung cancer. They're going to continue to smoke because the thing that they're selling is so addictive, and they're marketing these products, and they know it. And so, what are your thoughts on this? Let's go to Jacoby. What are your thoughts on this? I know you do personal injury. I know Shannon does too. Actually, my uncle does too. But what are your thoughts on this, Jacoby? Why did this person win this lawsuit?
All right, so that is a great question, right? And when you dig into it, the answer is an interesting one.
Okay.
So there was a class action back in the day, like 1994. It was Engel v. Leggett Group, Inc. Okay? And one of the things that was decided in that class action, after the state decertified the class, they held that Engel progeny, cases that came after in the same kind of silo, could move forward if they qualify under certain exceptions. They would be entitled to the benefit of the jury's finding in the original verdict in Engels that the tobacco companies were hiding their claims and hiding how dangerous cigarettes were, that subsequent plaintiffs would be entitled to those findings if they could demonstrate that the tobacco companies placed a dangerous, addictive product on the market and hid the dangers of smoking. And they would be would have to prove that the smoker, the plaintiff in the case, at the heart of their case, suffered from nicotine addiction, and that was the legal cause of death, and it was related to a smoking disease, right? So because the plaintiff here met those requirements, she was able to proceed with her claim. And that's why we're still getting tobacco verdicts to this day. So I think it was a very good, interesting topic to bring up that I haven't done a class action yet, but how cases can have such rippling and lasting effects.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. So this is a wrongful death lawsuit. And wrongful death is a lawsuit that really kind of falls under the personal injury realm. Shannon, I know you do wrongful death lawsuits, correct? Okay. So I don't know if Shannon, you want to just break down wrongful death lawsuits, and why do you think, and just your legal opinion on why do you think they were able to prevail in this case?
So in general, right, a wrongful death claim is filed on behalf of the family, spouse, survivors, whatever, of an individual who they feel died unjustly, right, or at the hands of another. This is not the first time that the tobacco industry has been sued for something like this. So a couple years back, one of my, I'd call him role models, even though he may not know it, Willie Gary got about a $23.6 billion settlement out of a tobacco, RJ Reynolds tobacco company. So I think what in that holding and in this holding, what the juries are determining and what these plaintiffs' attorneys are arguing is not that cigarettes cause cancer, right? It's that the tobacco companies hide or try to downplay the severity of smoking cigarettes. So I think that's why you see these juries, which are people of your peers, right, continue to award these huge payouts because it's like, you know what, that is true. So, and I think in this one, she stopped when she was pregnant, but picked it back up. She quit 4 other times and picked it back up. So, yes, we know tobacco and cigarette smoking can be addictive. I think what these, and it was kind of the same case in that Florida ruling where Willie Gary got that 23 and some change $1 billion. What the courts are saying is nobody's saying cigarettes are not bad for you. We know they are. However, I don't think you, whether it be R.J. Reynolds, Phillip Morris, I don't think you, tobacco company, are stressing the harmful factors, right? I don't think you're stressing. I don't think you're letting them know what is actually taking place. So I think that's why individuals, because I doubt the argument was made that this person smoked cigarettes. They died because they smoked cigarettes. I think they died because the cigarette companies failed to disclose the harmful. Yes, I mean when we were younger, you remember the this is your brain and this is your brain on drugs, or this is the lung of a smoker versus. But at the same time, I still don't think they're disclosing the true harmful effects of smoking cigarettes. So I think that's why you'll see people continue to bring these wrongful death claims and get these huge compensatory judgments, these treble damages, just because the cigarette companies are not. So you see a competitor like RJ Reynolds be sued, and yet you don't take action. So I think part of it is, again, I think that public policy piece where it's like, look, we're going to keep doing it unless you address the elephant in the room. You fail to do that. Here's a $43 million. You fail to do that. Here's a $23 billion. You fail to do that. And I'm sure these are the ones that make the news, right? I'm sure they probably pay out 500 grand here, 100, but I think until they truly address the elephant in the room, you'll continue to see it.
Absolutely. I want to go to Mayumbo here. He's a personal injury attorney. And what defenses, right? So it's easy to attack the tobacco company, but what defenses do you think that they could have prevailed on in this case?
The very issue is generally the liabilities, where you can find a loophole when denying liability or not being liable for anything, and all that becomes you in your ability to narrow the window of actions by your clients. My client didn't do this, my client didn't do that. That happened, but there's a relation between this and that, right? You may have a strong defense, whatever, but also the key generally in these personal injury cases is the jury that you have. What do you have as a member of the jury, right? And then it becomes very important when you're selecting them, right? And the time as well. Not only that, is the presentation of what you present to the jury as well. You might have a good, but if you not bring all the nowadays they're talking about a lot of technology presentation to them. Make sure they understand that you heard of lawyers that are down to earth. They can connect to things like that. And that's all. I don't see really defense, because even if you have a defense, the only person that you're going to go against with is going to be the jury. So that's how I see it, really.
Okay. Yeah, I want to just highlight a few things, and then we can move on to the last topic here, and then we can close out after that. So yes, there are defenses to wrongful death claims, right? So one of those defenses is causation. If you can prove that whatever you didn't cause this person to die, then you actually can prevail against a wrongful death lawsuit. Another one is comparative negligence, which is basically a legal word is it was your fault. You caused this. It was your actions that allowed this person to. It was that person's own actions that allowed them to die. And then the other one is imputed comparative negligence, which is the actions of someone else that the person that's suing. It was their action that caused someone to die. So I think that I haven't read the case, obviously, and I wasn't there, but I wonder how well did they argue? Comparative and imputed comparative negligence, really comparative negligence, and assuming the risk of, hey, it's millions of commercials out here about smoking. To just assume that, to have someone say that, hey, it's their fault for selling me this addictive stuff. I mean, to me, that just seems kind of wavery, but I understand that in front of a jury, they're presenting a story about a spouse and about the spouse died. They've been smoking cigarettes for 35 years. And, I understand how you can present something well. And so I think that is a part where lawyering being a lawyer and lawyering really comes into play. My big thing for business owners is really making sure that you understand that wrongful death lawsuits can happen, and that depending on your particular industry, you need to be prepared in advance. You need to make sure that you have good contracts in place. You need to make sure that you have good policies in place to help prevent this, and also making it understanding what are the defenses to wrongful death lawsuits, because you can't stop somebody from having from suing you and from having a lawsuit, but you can make sure that the defenses are loud and clear. And I don't do personal injury law, but I just wanted to see from the personal injury attorneys here, does that sound about right? Am I hitting the ballpark there?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think so too. And what I usually suggest to clients in the business space, especially so I have clients in the manufacturing, the steel. So not only do you need to have some sort of safety protocol in place, put it in places where people see, they know, they understand. And I think one thing you missed, Justin, is the assumption of risk. I think that's the fall of it. I think that's the catch-all argument, right?
Right.
Justin knew as a steel mill worker, he assumed the risk of being in these mills, right? That's why the fireman can't run into a house, the stairs fall, and then turn around and sue the homeowner, right? There's an assumption of risk associated with all jobs. But like I say, I constantly advise clients, take that extra step, pay that extra money. It'll be cheaper for you today to put in guardrails at $3,000 than it will be for somebody to die and they bring a wrongful death claim, and now you kicking out $43 million, right? I mean, it'll be much cheaper. It'll save you more time. It'll save you much more money if you implement and put these safety protocols. Again, I had a client, we were on the defense, but it was, long story short, a lady fell into like a grinder. Well, she didn't make it out. However, you did a tour of the facility. There were no reels. There were no rails, no safety rails. She didn't have a harness on. If she were to fall, a harness could have, none of that. So it was like, well, we didn't want to spend the money to implement some of those safety measures. Well, now you're going to pay, a couple $1 million to the family. So if there are safety measures to take as a small business owner, bite the bullet on the cost, because it'll save you much more money on the back end than it will than you think you'll be saving by not putting that stuff in place.
Yeah, and you said bite the bullet. Are you talking about hiring a business attorney?
I mean, maybe, but at the end of the day, at the end of the day, yes. I mean, even that though, right? The expense of lawyering up. Okay, so I might pay a guy $1,000 for a couple hours. However, I got more information out of that couple hour consultation, meeting, whatever you want to call it. And now I need to go ahead and spend the extra money to put this stuff in place. Because again, if I'm knocking on the door, it's not for, unless statutory bars how much I can bring, I'm coming to clean house. You know what I mean? So
Right,
it's not,
right.
I'm not coming for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, right? I mean, I'm coming for life-changing money. So put the protocols in place, get the safety measures in place early. That way you don't have to worry about paying all that money at a later date.
Absolutely. So business owners, you heard it. Okay. A great way to save money. Think of when you're talking about safety protocols. It's better to be proactive than reactive. These are all plaintiff. I'm sure they represent both sides, but these are all plaintiff personal injury attorneys. And he made it clear, when I get a plaintiff in a wrongful death lawsuit, we're coming for the bank. All right, we're cleaning house, right? And so they're going for after the maximum amount of money they can have. So if you want to avoid that, you got to be proactive. One of those ways of being proactive is hiring a business attorney in your local area to advise you about the rules and those that are going on around your industry. Mike Reynolds said, "Let's get it." He also said, "This is what's needed in the Black community." Thank you, Mike Reynolds. We appreciate your support. please continue listening and come back next week, or not next week, next month. So last topic I want to talk about before we go, we're already a little bit over, but I want to talk about LA County paid $400,000 to a church that they claim violated COVID-19 protocol. So we have another constitutional issue here. We talked about this is one church. They fought against the COVID-19 procedures that the LA County in California had done, because they weren't, according to the rules, they weren't supposed to be having indoor gatherings, or it had to be limited. They weren't supposed to be singing, because they felt like if they're singing, they're going to be passing and spreading COVID. The government said that we have a right to restrict churches, because they feel that this is a public health safety issue, and that outweighs their religious freedom. The church argued that we have our First Amendment rights. I just want to read the First Amendment. It says, Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of a religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or abridging the freedom of speech or of press, or the rights of people to peacefully assemble, or to petition the government for redress of grievances. The first part of that public First Amendment is what we're talking about. Congress shall make no law respecting the establishment of religion, or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So, did they violate their constitutional rights by putting on these restrictions? Do you think they would have won if they would, instead of settling, if the government went all the way with it and the church went all the way? Do you think the church would have prevailed? Let's go to you, Mayumbo. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it depends on, right? Analysis to what we talked about earlier, the impact of the will on people's fundamental right, which leaves not a lot of room or wiggle room for the government around. So the government may have rules for good cause, but then the implementation of the rules went by wrong. So when they indeed went through, I believe, I'm not well versed with the case, but what I see is this: they might have gone through discovery, and then they have made a couple of books here and there, and then given the evidence available, that we might as well just settle now rather than going forward. Because when the government, and you said that, and my colleagues have said that too, when the government comes in the business of imposing its will, there's not much they can do to protect themselves with the citizen coming back and say, no, this went a little beyond what you're supposed to do, right? So that's my take on that very case.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So my sorry, your internet's cutting out a little bit in and out, so we may not have missed, we might have gotten all of that, but that's okay. But so your point is that basically you're on leaning towards the government, and the government does have the constitution. Or are you saying that they don't?
No, I said they have the rights to do what's right, but
the government, or are you talking about the church? Okay,
the
church.
government.
Okay. Okay.
You're imposing your will, okay, coming up with the law and imposing something, okay. Right. You want to make sure that you're very well crafted, because if you don't, then another well-versed citizen is going to come back and then bite you and sue you, and then here we are. In this particular case, what is obvious is that the government realized that there were some loopholes in the way that implemented their restrictions, right? And then why do we need to go 2-3 years and spend more money in attorneys when we can save that money and settle here, right? So because they have experts, they gauge this thing, and then they're like, okay, no, right now we can do this. But then the way we see it, if we pay the attorneys to buy time, because the best defense attorney get paid to buy time. The more you buy time, you hope that evidence will disappear. Somebody will lose interest. You don't have witnesses. And then things like that happen. Then the small church turn around and like, okay, whatever, let's look aside and think about other things. But then this church, for some reasons, was persistent. They probably lawyered up, which everybody should do. Think about lawyering up. You don't have to pay millions. Talk to a lawyer and see what they can do. And then when that happened, the government sees that, oh, we do have an uphill battle to go through here. Okay, what can I do? Let me see if I can cut the short. Let me see if we can settle. Because I don't really have enough evidence that I can present to the jury. The jury is going to take from me. Let's do the right thing here. Something to lose something.
All right, so Mike Reynolds said the government's in the wrong. They need to hit the city with a lawsuit. I wish they did. Cole, I saw you about to comment. Go ahead, Cole.
For sure. So piggybacking off of everyone here, especially my humble since he led off, I just want to drop some.
Drop the fire.
So at the state level, the state has police powers, right? And we're going to tie this whole thing in with the vaccine and the whole nine. Through the state's police power, that's how these states are implementing the vaccine mandate. But the police power, they can also not implement the vaccine state. So I think we got here through the police powers of, I believe, Los Angeles. And it came out in 1905, Jacobson versus Massachusetts, and also Zuck v. King in 1922. All were about municipalities and local health authorities implementing vaccines. However, there are exceptions, religious exceptions, and also
health
medical exceptions. Yeah. Right? Absolutely. And so the church wholeheartedly was positioning themselves and cloaked themselves into the religious protection. I think that was their argument. And to my uncle's point, the church did get an attorney. Mm-hmm. And the church mounted $400,000 in attorney's fees.
Right.
And the city mounted $900,000.
$900,000 in attorney fees.
Right. So, like my uncle said, it becomes a point. At this point, what would I just had this conversation recently with a client? That's why I was excited to talk about this. At what point, or how much would that victory cost you?
Right.
Right. So, like to Mike Reynolds' point, whether the city is right or wrong, if the city thought they were right, how much is it going to cost them? And they already 900 in.
Right.
Right. So that 400 was actually a break even. It catches headlines, but like my uncle was saying, it was a good settlement in the sense no one gained anything, no one lost anything. The city, the taxpayers in LA, y'all got to pay this 900 grand, but
plus the 400,000 that they gonna pay.
Right, exactly.
Right.
And then, but the church though recouped all their attorney's fees, right? So they don't owe anything for defending their rights in this case, right? So I think that was kind of how the settlement got reached. But like my uncle was alluding to, a settlement is a real thing, right? Based on how long court cases take, and he was alluding to that with the defense attorneys and dragging on a case and things like that. Now, there becomes a cost-benefit analysis that you got to put in here. And even if you have the point, to take it all the way to finality and to get a judge's decision, which is still a gamble, right? Maybe that surety of the settlement and the nearness of the settlement is way more attractive than the court case. And I think that is exactly what we have here. And I think this is a great case to highlight the utility of settlements.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to wrap up a little things here, like I've heard people make argument, oh, if they settled, you wrong. That means you admitting you wrong. I'm like, no, that is so far from the truth. It's so
yeah, right people settle all the time,
man. Sometimes it's just better to settle. You don't want to take some certain things to trial for various reasons. One of those reasons could be it's just too costly. So that's why, as business attorneys, because we're both litigators and we are transactional. But on the transactional side, that's why we work so hard to try to make sure that we protect you guys and that we are making sure that we are putting the right, contracts and things in place, because we know that going to trial is not ideal. We don't want you to go to trial, right? We love, my uncle loves arguing, Jacoby loves arguing, I'm sure Shannon does too. We can all argue and debate, great. But sometimes going to trial is not great. We want to make sure that you avoid going to trial. One more thing I wanted to say too is that, yeah, I was going to talk about the whole strict scrutiny scandal and how they review how they review the Constitution. So maybe I'll do that later. How to actually challenge a law based on Constitution. But instead of getting to that, I do want to just talk about small business owners. Just on a final thought, how does this apply to small business owners who want to violate COVID-19 procedures imposed by the government? Like, hey, I don't screw what the government's saying. I'm gonna violate these procedures, versus people who business owners who want to impose certain governmental procedures upon their employees or their independent contractors. So those two things that in play, how does this case apply? Who wants to take it?
Well, I just want to throw this out there. I think that it clearly highlights the religious and medical exceptions.
There you go.
Right?
There you go.
And that if you, whatever side of the fence you're on, you need to know about these exceptions, because you probably have some employees, especially if you're a large company, that fall in one of these exceptions, or regardless of your stance or not, on whether pro-vaccine, this, that, and the third, if you have employees that are against the vaccine, best believe they will be availing themselves to these exceptions.
Right.
So you need to go ahead and warn your legal department. If you don't have one, you need to get one.
Right.
to see and vet if these exceptions are valid as well. Right. So that, I think that is one of the key things that I see is we got to highlight that religious and medical exception, and business owners should totally be aware of those, no matter where they are on the fence about the issue.
Right. Absolutely. I want to just add a final thought to that, but my uncle, did you want to say something really quick?
Oh no, I think that Jacoby nailed it straight up.
Okay. Yeah. Absolutely. And so if you are a small business owner, right, and you're trying to impose, and I'm not even talking about the vaccine or just any COVID-19 related procedures, or really anything, but particularly when it comes to that, you have to acknowledge people's health and medical exception, and you have to acknowledge religious exception, right? You have to. Now that is someone's constitutional right, and you cannot violate that right in that particular way. You can't force someone to do something. Now, when it comes to the other side of it, if you're a small business owner and you like, you know what, screw the government, I'm gonna do my own thing, you don't have the right to do that. You know what I'm saying? Unless you are fall under those umbrellas, particularly the religious umbrella, and you are saying that this is your constitutional right, or you are an essential business, you have to fall under the guidelines of the governmental procedures. So keep that in mind, small business owners. We got another comment. Where is Obama's government fined for his B-Day party where hundreds of people were unmasked and put the public health at risk? Great point. I have no comment there. Great point. I think that this is definitely new law. I've had clients and people reach out to me about how to deal with these type of procedures. It's actually like, this is one of the type of situations where we're learning as we go. You know what I'm saying? We haven't really dealt with a pandemic of this nature. And so the law is kind of evolving. A lot of, law is really old in a lot of ways, but when it comes to like this particular issue, it's evolving. So we're following the ball, and as we basically got to give you advice as the law is today, right? But it might change, a few months down the line, because the law is constantly evolving. So we're going to get out of here. This is Small Business Saturday podcast with attorney Justin Camper, attorney Whitley, attorney Buhari, attorney Mayumbo, Bonza. This is a great podcast. Did you guys enjoy yourselves?
Yeah, good time. Y'all probably not gonna invite me back.
Good, man. I had a good time.
Oh no, we invite you back. definitely, I wanted to let you guys know, let the viewers know, we're going to be back next month. October. I think it's 16th, but let me just double check. October 16th. Okay. We're going to do this once a month, October 16th at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to be finding different legal issues in the news, and we're going to be breaking it down, giving our analysis on it. It takes a lot of work to do this. So, if you guys want more of this, let us know. But it takes a lot of work, and we want to know your feedback. How did you like this? Was this a good podcast? Did you learn something? Was it informative? We want to make sure that we acknowledge, the fact that we are all business attorneys. We actually do a lot of other different areas of law. So please find us, follow us. We all have Instagram pages. I'm gonna let you guys go just really quick. Just where can they find you if they want to hire you for your services? And again, where you practice. Let's start with you, Jacoby. Go ahead.
I'm looking up my Instagram. Yeah, so on Instagram, I'm the dreaded ESQ. But you can reach me at 202-499-2403 or 1833. Call JKW. That's 225-5559. That's the quickest way to get on the schedule and get set up for appointment, or go to law office of JKW.com. That's the website.
Appreciate that. Make sure you guys follow his page. If you're in the DC area, definitely give Jacoby a shout out. We'll go to you, Mayambo. Just go ahead and put your information out there for people to find you.
Absolutely. I can say it, and I can't type it just because I'm using my phone now. Rather say it, but I can share it later. If that's okay.
Sure. Yeah.
872-205-6770 Mbanda Law. That's where you can find it. You call, we pick up there. If you don't pick up, we're gonna call you back. Or you can email us at k@mbanzalaw.com. That's CASE@MBANDALAW.com. And by the way, you have a French matter. We speak French too at this law firm, and we try to speak Spanish too, but we really speak well. So just so you know.
Hey, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Go ahead, Shannon. You want to give a quick promo where they can find you. How can they hire you if they need help?
You can follow me on IG at attorney_Buari, BUARI. And if you're in Indiana, the great state of Indiana, AAKlaw.com. Find my profile, get in contact. I'd love to help you any way I can. I'm senior because this is junior, but yeah, I can help any way I can. Starting him young, but any way I can in Indiana. I don't care how far. I'll come see you. You can come see me. But at attorney_Buari on Instagram. AAKlaw.com is the website.
Absolutely. And I want to shout out my wife here. She commented, "Great show, babe." Thank you, wife. I appreciate you listening in. So Mike Reynolds is talking about the election. Yeah, we're gonna. Thank you. I really appreciate your comment. We're about to close out though, but definitely I appreciate that you making a lot of good points. Please follow the pages, Justin Camper Law, and that's my website, but also on Instagram and Facebook page. Follow that. That's where you can see the promo for the new episode. Also, a YouTube page. You have a YouTube page where this video is going to be going up at Justin Camper Law. We're working on it. We want to know if you like it. If you guys like this, we might create like a separate page. We might do some things with it. But we need to hear your feedback. We need to know if this is something that you like. This is something that you guys want to see us to continue to do. We appreciate you. Small Business Saturday podcast with Attorney Justin Camper. Glad to have you guys, and we are out.